Welcome to the Marine Biologist podcast. Join us to discover the latest topics by leading marine researchers and conservationists. The podcast accompanies The Marine Biologist, the magazine for members of the Marine Biological Association, and is presented by the editor, Guy Baker.
We're delighted today to welcome Vincent Doumeizel, who's Senior Advisor on Oceans to the United Nations Global Compact and a global advocate for sustainable ocean-based solutions addressing climate change, hunger, and environmental degradation. Welcome, Vincent. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Good. So where did your interest in the sea start?
Well, it's quite recent, actually. I started my career in Africa, witnessing the damage of water hunger, and then worked in the food industry for like 20 years, realizing that there was no solution on land to supply food to everyone in a sustainable way. So the land resources were not able to address water hunger. And then the figures that struck me was that 70% of our planet is covered by ocean that contribute to only 2% of our food supply in calorie. So it's like we have overexploited the land and totally neglected the ocean. And then I thought that the best way to really do something regenerative in the ocean, because we surely want to cultivate the ocean, but we don't want to do the same mistakes that we did on land with GMO and industrial agriculture and so forth. The best way was to start with the lowest trophic level and in a permaculture way, sort of. So seaweed, and so I was a passionate advocate. I did several books on them, notably the Seaweed Revolution. I funded the first ever global seaweed coalition at the UN, and we are now pushing very hard the topic at all the UN forum. But then I realized that in order for seaweed to grow, there was like a black box around them that was a bit of a mystery, and that's where my interest in plankton came from. But what's the reason for them to grow or not to grow? I mean, because they were surrounded by a myriad of organism, invisible organism, that no one knows about, and that was quite fascinating to me. So that's how I started my journey in this amazing plankton solution.
I've been reading your new book, The Power of Plankton. That's really enjoying it. What drove you to write the book?
Well, that was a request when I launched the Seaweed Coalition at the UN. I was requested by a publisher in France to write a book about it because they saw that the topic was great. And the book has been a worldwide success. I mean, it has been translated in many languages. It was awarded Best Environmental Book of the Year. We adapted the book in a comic book, in a children book. We are doing a movie right now out of the book. That was kind of crazy. And more importantly, I realized how powerful is the book in terms of influence and how it gives you legitimacy to talk about something. I mean, we live in a digital age, but I was very much surprised by how influential is a book and the very strong impact it has. So because of the book, I was invited to speak with President, with Mr. Macron and so forth, and John Kerry and so forth. So that was quite amazing because I realized that yes, the book is very powerful, and more importantly, even I mean, you target the mainstream public. I mean, like the normal audience, and this revolution has to start. I mean, at the education level. I mean, it has to start everywhere in the kitchen by every people. I mean, we need to educate people on plankton and seaweed. So we need really. I mean, we cannot only speak to the educated people that knows about marine biology. We need to reach these people that are totally unaware about what's going on in the ocean.
Yeah, I love the stories you tell in the book. It's so
Thank you.
engaging and that show how people are connected to plankton. I think it's great because it's all something you were always saying, how can we reach more people and stuff? And I think your book really does that. I love the stories and including the possibility that we're descended from Martians.
Yeah. Well, we know that the ocean is partly older than our solar system, than our planet and our solar system. So a lot of it came from different places and from meteorites that came all the way. So yeah, we do. I mean, we know that we don't know anything about the last universal common ancestor. We just know that possibly it may have come from space through a meteorite. So, and that was interesting to me that yeah, maybe the entire life on Earth actually is an alien. I mean, it's like yeah, it comes from space. We are all descendant from aliens. So that was quite fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. The I think you say there could have been a massive impact on Mars when Mars had microbial life, and bits could have ended up impacting Earth. And I'm also fascinated by the exploration of the deep past in your book and how evolutionary innovations can be catastrophic for life on Earth, which is something you don't really sort of hear about so much. Can you explain how something as tiny as plankton can impact the whole planet?
Well, I mean, it's tiny, but that's 4 billion years of evolution. I mean, if you look at a droplet of water, you may think it's empty, but it's not. I mean, it's not, it's transparent, but it's not empty at all. It's an amazing range of organisms teeming with life, an abundant ecosystem. And that ecosystem has designed life as we know it, has designed our planet. It has created the oxygen, it has created the climate sequestering carbon, it has created the rocks around us. I mean, the Dover's cliff, they are made of dead plankton. The oil that we use is made of dead plankton, and so forth. So, that's what it is. I mean, and it has created everything. It has created the water cycle, and enabling the rain and the clouds, releasing gas. It has enabled the nutrient cycle as well with phosphate and nitrogen. So it's just everywhere around us. We just don't see it. We cannot see it. But now it becomes visible because we have the tools and the genomics and the satellites to visualize it from space because you can see because of the color of the ocean. You can tell where is plankton and plankton has defined everything we have around us. So it's the source of everything. It's the matrix of life.
Can you give us sort of like a potted explanation of what organisms make up most of the plankton?
Well, there's a wide range of organisms making up plankton. I mean, you will have bacteria, you will have fungi, you will find virus, you will also find what we call microalgae, which can be categorized as phytoplankton and zooplankton as well. And it's a very wide range of organisms. If the tiniest plankton was the size of a hand, of course, it's way smaller. But then the longest plankton, which is the longest animal on the planet, which is a siphonophore, would be equivalent the size of Great Britain. I mean, in terms of scale of size. So it's quite amazing the range of size that the plankton cover. Plankton is characterized by is erratic behavior because they cannot swim against the current. They have no limbs, so they are planktos means wandering or drifting in Greek, and it's characterized by everything that is drifting. So that's what is important, and it gathers a very wide range of organism, definitely.
And this sort of diving into what plankton do a little bit. Can you explain what the carbon pump is and why plankton is so important in that?
Well, yeah, the mix of communities of plankton is really important. And right now we are characterized by, over the last 300 million years, by a mix of plankton that is quite dominated by species that are very good at sequestering carbon. Because they have a shell, because they have like a structure around them and a shell, they are sinking through what we call the marine snow, beautiful and poetic word. So they are thinking in the ocean when they die, and doing so they will sequester carbon in the deep ocean. Some other plankton they don't have any shell, and they will not think. They will stay at the surface. If they stay and they die at the surface, they will release carbon in the atmosphere. If they sink, the plankton will sequester carbon and obviously limit the warming and combat climate change. And over the last 300 million years, this domination of carbon sequestering plankton has created the climate that we have. And right now, because of the anthropic activities that we have, like with pesticides, with global warming, with acidification, we do favor the non-sequestering plankton, and the plankton community is changing. And today, the ocean absorb 30% of the greenhouse gas, which is quite massive. That 30% of the greenhouse gas that we emit every year. So if it absorb less, of course, the climate change will be even faster. And if they end up emitting carbon, the ocean, which can be possible, then that's the end of the game for all of us. There will be other species, of course. I mean, that will not be the end of life in the ocean, but that will be the end of our species and all the ecosystem we know of. So yeah, that's why it's so important to take care of plankton. And that's why is the carbon pump. The carbon pump is this capacity that has plankton to take carbon through photosynthesis. I mean, building biomass out of carbon dioxide, releasing oxygen and creating living matters, and at the end of its life, sequestering it in the deep ocean. That's what we call the carbon pump. But yeah, if that stops, or if they are not so good at sequestering, then the climate will warm up, and that's going to be a big deal. Yeah.
And what's your view on sort of experiments to fertilize the surface of the ocean to try and enhance the carbon pump?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, there's this temptation. I mean, we know that this positive plankton for the climate we have right now, I mean, the ones that are sequestering carbon, they are limited by the presence of iron in the ocean. So it's quite attracting to dump iron in the ocean in order for them to proliferate. And there's a guy a very famous scientist, who say, okay, give me half a tanker of iron, and I will give you the next ice age. And that's quite tempting, but that's very dangerous as well. Of course, you dump iron in the ocean, sequestering plankton sequestering with carbon will proliferate. They will sink a lot of carbon, that's for sure, but we don't really know what will be the other consequences. I mean, maybe they will release bacteria, virus, maybe they will not be as efficient in the end. Maybe they will, I mean, we don't know. I mean, maybe they will create some other damage and disrupt the ecosystem, because it's such a fragile ecosystem, the ocean. So it's very dangerous. There are really pros and cons, and there are people that do believe into iron seeding in the ocean. Some others are not. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a scientific perspective that needs to be, yeah. I mean, maybe we should try that at a small scale, very carefully monitored by science and so forth.
Yes, and there's one chapter that talks about sardines loving chestnuts. I find that quite an intriguing
Yeah, it's a
concept.
way to show that everything is interconnected, and
Mm.
that when you do things on land, it has an immediate effect
Mm.
on in the ocean. And the thing is that we have been pushed to plant conifer in pine tree and so forth. But this, in order for them, because they grow very quickly, they sequester a lot of carbon. But they have needle and not leaves. So leaves. So that's a big deal, because leaves create humus that will feed the phytoplankton that will sequester carbon, by the way, and that will feed the rest of the food chain. That was a way to show that if you plant chestnut tree instead of or any other deciduous tree instead of conifer, then the immediate impact may be less, but at the end of the day, the deferred impact will be way bigger, because you will not feed, if you plant conifer, you will not feed plankton, and then you will not feed small fish, and then big fish and sardines. So sardines, they love chestnut because when you plant chestnut trees and you create a lot of humus that will feed the phytoplankton and the rest of the plankton and then the sardine. So that's a way to show that everything we do on land is connected to the ocean, and it's even more when we talk about dumping agri-food waste and so forth. So we should be very careful, not only about the ocean, but about what's happening on land. And we see that with the green tide and the red tide of algae, because they are the direct consequence of our activities on land.
Um, and you emphasize the importance of paying more attention to plankton, saying they could be the canary in the coal mine. How can they indicate what's going wrong and help us to restore ocean biodiversity?
The ocean biodiversity, as we know it today, is based on plankton. So if once again, if this mix of community, if these plankton communities they change, then the rest of the biodiversity will change, and we see that coming already. I mean, we see that happening already actually with the jellyfish tide. I mean, this shoal of jellyfish everywhere in the ocean. They are direct consequence of the change in plankton communities. Jellyfish are plankton, and they are one of the most resilient and now abundant animal on the planet. So they will survive. They will thrive in everything we do to plankton, actually, because they love everything we do to the ocean jellyfish. But the other plankton that are of more interest for us because they sequester carbon, because they create oxygen, because they feed the food chain in the ocean, and more importantly because they are non-toxic to us, because we have an heritage with a mix of plankton, but some other plankton they can be really toxic to us. So once again, if we go wrong with plankton, if we do not support the plankton communities in the right way, the ocean will become toxic to us. I mean, and anything that will come from the ocean will be toxic, and then the wrong species will grow in the ocean, the wrong for us at least, and that all will be it will be very negative for us, and that's really what we need to achieve, is to understand and know. Once again, we have the capacity to do so. It's only for 10 years, it's very new. That's why it is so fascinating, but we have the capacity to understand the plankton mix and to support it at scale. So I think that's an emergency for all of us, and that's also why I did this book, because I mean, no one is talking about it. I mean, even at the higher level, I mean, the UN, I mean, at COP, it took 21 COP climate to talk about the ocean, to talk about something that is sucking up 30% of the carbon on the planet. And then we still, there was no mention about plankton anywhere in the COP climate agreement ever. While it's so important, the same goes with the COP biodiversity. Plankton is the source of all the biodiversity on the planet, but no one talks about it at COP biodiversity. And there's no NGOs, there's no big activists that have a big plan on plankton. So no one talks about it. So first and foremost, we need a strong educational program about plankton and talk about it and walk around it to understand what we could do out of it.
Yeah, well, they're undoubtedly charismatic, as your
Yeah.
book conveys. And I was fascinated to hear about Alain Bombard, who crossed the Atlantic in a small inflatable boat, and he survived only on plankton and rainwater, to make a point about survivability or yeah, that
Yeah,
was
and
amazing. Should we be
Alain
looking to
Bombard
plank?
realized that after shipwrecks, the people were dying out of despair, and not so
Mm,
much from cold or starvation. So he decided to demonstrate that we can survive very long in a lifeboat, and he crossed the Atlantic actually for 65 days. And indeed, he survived out of plankton because he grabbed the plankton net, and then in lifeboat for many years there was plankton net. And more importantly, he gave hope to those people that were lost in the ocean. And after his success crossing the Atlantic Ocean, he did a book which was a huge success around the world, and then he received thousands and thousands of letters thanking him and acknowledging that if they had not known about his story, they would have died from despair. And that's a great story because it shows that in the I mean, sometimes, fear kills better than the actual danger, and so we should keep hope. So yeah, in the face of adversity and danger, we should be full of hope and optimism. So that's what the story is demonstrating. That if you are full of hope and optimism, nothing is impossible, and you can feel like it's gonna get bad. It may be even worse at the end of the day. So let's get some hope and optimism, and let's rely on plankton and understand how we can fix the biggest issue of our planet using plankton in the right way, because they actually can, I think. I mean, if we understand plankton, we can understand the planet biology. We can fix all the cycles, all the nutrient cycles and so forth, and then it's gonna be great. So let's try to do it, and I think that's what this story tells about. I mean, more importantly.
I love that. I love the hopeful message. Brilliant. Vincent, have you tried plankton broth?
Plankton what?
Plankton broth. There's a famous chef a Spanish chef.
Ah, the plankton marino.
Yes.
Ah, the plankton marino. Yeah, I did try the plankton marino here. It's delicious, of course. Just like anything which is properly cooked. I mean, I keep saying, if you eat potatoes, raw potatoes or green or even cocoa bean, it's not good. I mean, at all. If you cook them well, chocolate, French chips, I mean, then it's better. And the same with anything like in the ocean. I mean, if you try it like that, I mean, it may not be good. If you do it well, it will be good. So so that's the idea. I mean, let's try to learn how to cook it. And I think chefs are a very important trendsetter, because of course plankton has many applications. It can clean the ocean, it can repair the planet, but it can also feed the people. I mean, we were talking about copepods, which are one of the zooplankton, so one of the subdivision of plankton. And there is 800 more proteins from copepod on the planet that you have from any other land animal. 800 times more protein. So I mean, there's a big solution there to feed people if we learn how to cultivate properly this kind of animal, or to feed our fish with them, in order to start a really regenerative aquaculture. Restoring plankton in the ocean is a very good way to restore the balance in the ocean, because that's the basis of the food chain. So if you want to repair your house, you don't start with the roof, you start with the foundation. The foundation of life in the ocean is plankton. If you want to repair the house, let's start with the foundation. That's just as simply as this. I mean, we need to start to the roots of the problem, and yeah, to repair the ecosystem in the ocean, start with the lowest trophic level, which is plankton.
Great. The book is realistic about the challenges facing the ocean and indeed humanity, but it's also hopeful about the future. Can you leave us with a quote that conveys that ocean optimism?
Well, I mean, we had our green revolution 12,000 years ago, when we when we start being farmers on land, but that was only on land. We never developed any knowledge so much about the ocean. If we learn how to grow things in a regenerative way in the ocean, I think we will be able to feed the entire planet population for the first time ever. We will also be able to repair our biodiversity, to fix climate issue, and to bring new source of revenues to coastal communities. So I think it will be and we'll fix the planet. We'll learn about the planet biology if we learn about plankton. We'll understand, just like we know about our biology, we'll understand the biology of the ocean, which is the core matrix of life on our planet, and that's where starts this unique epic that is life on Earth. It all started in plankton communities, so that's what we need to learn. And if we do that, I think we can be remembered as the first generation, to feed the planet and to fix all the other issues. I think we are feeding the next generation with fears and drama, which is the real drama actually. And we should be hopeful and full of solution. I do believe that this is an ocean of solution that we have, and there's a lot of plankton based solution for our future.
Lovely message to to round up on there, Vincent. Your book, The Power of Plankton, How Plankton Made Life on Earth Possible and Why It's the Key to Our Future, is going to be published very soon.
Yeah.
So I'd urge people to look out for that, and we'll get a review of that in the Marine Biologist magazine soon. So,
Okay.
well, thank you, Vincent. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Enjoyed this podcast? Why not become a member of the Marine Biological Association and become part of a global community advocating for the ocean? You'll receive 4 beautiful copies of our magazine annually, The Marine Biologist, as well as receive a host of other benefits. Simply join us at www.mba.ac.uk.